In this video, I'm going to be reviewing the Aurora Talentum with a flex nib. I'll go over the specs, I'll do a writing sample, and I'll tell you what I like and don't like about this pen coming up. Blake here with Blake's Broadcast. On this channel, I review fountain pens, paper, and ink, and as always, I put links in the show notes in the description below. And if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button, it really helps out my channel. Alright, let's get on with the review. So this is the Aurora Talentum fountain pen, and this is sort of the entry-level pen with the big Aurora nib like you get on an Optima. So this is the big size Aurora number 6 nib. It's the biggest nib that they make. These pens are more expensive because they are converters and they come in prettier colors and special editions. The Talentum is a very basic pen, black resin. I think they do some metal ones, but there's no limited editions that I'm aware of, and they don't really add much in terms of colors like they do with the other Aurora lines. So this one is sort of a pretty simple, plain line. They don't seem that excited about it. I mean, it's a cartridge converter pen. The retail price in the United States is $495. Now, you can get these in Europe for around $300. I bought this one and another identical one, but with a different nib, from Iguanacel in Spain. You can buy it on their website. And I'm not related to them in any way. It's just they tend to have the cheapest price. I think you can get these for $300, and sometimes they have a sale, so you can knock it down for that. And you know, this pen is the cheapest way to get one of these nibs. Aurora sells these nibs separately, and they're more expensive than this entire pen. So if you want a certain nib, like I did, I purchased a italic nib, and I purchased this flex nib, which I'm going to be reviewing here. And the cheapest way to do that, new, is with one of these Talentum pens. So let's go through it. It's a very good looking pen. Aurora says that this is a pen for the new millennium. I don't know what that means, but it's not a historical model like the Optima is. It does share some similarities. You'll notice that the clips are a very similar style, and the sections are also a similar shape. The Aurora Optima one is a little bit longer and doesn't have this ring here, but they're the same width. You know, these unscrew, so that all the nibs are interchangeable. I think this pen is also a little bit bigger than the Optima. I mean, just in terms of overall length, the Optima is a pretty short pen. Just some differences there. But in holding this pen, you know, it feels the same sort of quality as that Aurora Optima. It feels like a nice solid pen, and it really, in my opinion, it is. And it's, I think, a bargain. I've had, yeah, just really good performance out of this pen. Let's walk through the pen. Flat tops, they are pretty flat. They're chrome. We have sort of a step here and then a chamfer, and then we go into the ring sort of below the clip. I think it does look nice. It's a nice quality clip, very strong clip there. And then we have a cap ring. The Aurora Optima cap ring is more intricate. It has a great key and kind of a coin edge, whereas this just has two little lines on here. It says Aurora and Italy because all Aurora pens are made in Italy. And it's pretty straight here. I don't think there's really much any taper on the cap at all. On the body, it does slowly taper to a bit towards the tail here. Again, chrome on the bottom, very basic. And big, comfortable grip section, just like the Optima. This one's just maybe a touch smaller, but comfort-wise, honestly, there's no difference between these two pens. Threading here, small step here. Of course, you don't have the ink window because it's not a piston filler. This is the converter that comes with it, which is unbranded. I don't know if I've seen branded, or at least modern branded Aurora converters. So this one, I bought this pen because it has the Aurora Flex nib, which I wanted to try. You'll notice that it's a bit different in shape than the standard Aurora 14 karat gold nib. You can see that the tines are a bit narrower and they're, cut a bit in more towards the breather hole. So the shape is a little bit different. It comes in all the same nib grades as the Optima and the Aurora 88 full-size one. So you get all the options. You most of them will have a nib that looks more like this one on the Aurora. But I wanted the flex nib. There was no extra charge for this. There was also no extra charge for the italic nib that I also ordered. So I really think a good value here because some companies charge extra for their flex nibs or their specialty, italic nibs. Aurora, it seems, does not, so that is great, I think. All the nibs have a ebonite feed, quite nice. This says F on there. I believe I don't know if the flex nib has a different feed than the regular ones. I can't tell a difference. I've had ones like a medium one that said an M, but I don't know. Maybe the F means fine, probably, or flex. This one with the italic nib is not marked at all, so I don't know what the F stands for exactly. I also have an OBB nib, factory OBB nib, no marking on the feed, so don't know what that means. The design on this nib, which has sort of this rounded triangular shape, which is Aurora Italy, and then 14K, 585 for gold, and then there's like a small hallmark down there that you can't really quite see. Let's do some measurements. Looking at about 137, 138. Uncapped, we're looking at about 133, 34. Posted, this is a good pen to post. It posts nicely. It's not too heavy of a cap. About 161, 162 millimeters. Now, in terms of the grip section, 10.1 at the narrowest point, sort of right before it flares out. And then at the back, just above this sort of chrome ring, 11.5. I love these pens. They're so comfortable. There's so much room where you can hold on to it. I think most people will find these to be very pleasing to use. And again, posts very nicely and securely. Let's do the weight. This has a pretty full converter in it, 30.14. And really not a super heavy pen. Obviously not a light pen, but not crazy. It's comfortable. I haven't really noticed a difference in comfort between this and the Optima. Let's do the writing sample for the Aurora Talentum. I'm going to be doing that on a Papermind Mitsubishi bank paper notebook. This is a company that I started because I love Mitsubishi bank paper and I couldn't get it easily. Really great with fountain pens. For Blake's broadcast viewers and subscribers, I'm giving 10% off at checkout with code BB10. Okay, let's get to it. So, this is the Aurora Talentum, and this is the flex nib. This is Sailor something. It's like a something. Sorry, I don't know the name of this. I will find out and I will put it on the screen. Sorry about that. It's hard for me to remember Japanese names for these colors. Okay. Fast writing. So I think, oh, that was actually a skip, and that was a skip. In regular use, there's no issues with it. These little, this here, that was me. This was the pen though, here and here. It keeps up pretty well. And so now this is a flex nib pen, supposedly. It's a pretty stiff one, but I can try and do a little bit of writing with it. Not exactly a calligrapher, but it keeps up pretty well. You can railroad this if I see, it's going to start. But that's a lot faster than you would really ever be writing if you were doing calligraphy, italic, or a cursive, which I cannot do. But, you know, I think it's pretty good. I've heard of people springing these nibs. I haven't had that problem yet. So one thing I would say though is compared to like the Mont Blanc calligraphy flex nib, the calligraphy flex nib does a finer line. Actually, I have it here, so I might as well just show you that really quickly. So the minimum line that this can do is a bit better, but I mean, they're pretty close, but I've noticed it's definitely finer. I think for everyday writing, this is a much better pen than the Mont Blanc calligraphy nib. If you want to do slow, careful calligraphy, nice calligraphy, well, really you want a dip pen, let's be honest, or a Pilot parallel pen. But if you said, I have to use a fountain pen, the Mont Blanc calligraphy nib, I do think is better for that purpose. For everyday writing, though, this is way better. In terms of reverse writing, seems like it does that pretty nicely. Not the smoothest. This isn't the smoothest nib. If you are a Aurora fan and you like feedback, this has that typical Aurora feedback, which I do think is quite nice. You know, in terms of reverse writing, I don't think you get that much of a benefit from it, but it does seem to do it perfectly well. So, okay, that's the writing sample. So what are my pros and cons for the Aurora Talentum with flex nib? You can buy these from an authorized dealer like Iguana Cell for around $300, and you have the full range of Aurora's 14 karat gold nibs. So you have the option of flex nib, stub nib, italic nib, oblique, double broad nib, all the regular grades. There's just a lot of options here. And then this pen with one of those nibs is cheaper than buying the individual nibs. So it makes sense you might as well have a pen with your nib instead of buying an individual nib. So that's ultimately why I purchased this pen. I do think it is a good looking pen. It's very comfortable, just as comfortable as my Aurora Optima, which I love. You know, the reason that these are cheaper is that they are a cartridge and converter versus a piston filler. They also don't come in as many pretty and unique finishes as the Aurora 88 and Optima, but I don't think that really matters. You know, this looks really nice, and for the price, even though it is expensive at around $300, it's, I think, a relatively good deal here. Now let's talk about the flex nib. I really do like this flex nib. There is a good amount of feedback, so it's not going to be the smoothest nib. If you love a buttery smooth nib, that's not going to be this nib, but it's very wet. You can write very quickly with this, which is something you can't really do as well with like the Mont Blanc 149 flex nib, which is designed for much slower writing. This you can write pretty quickly with it. You can use this as an everyday writer, no problem. And you do get a good amount of flex. Now, in terms of cons, for a flex nib, well, I shouldn't say for a flex nib. Compared to the Mont Blanc 149 flex nib, this does not go as fine, and it doesn't go as fine as like a vintage flex nib. So you're not going to be able to make really thin hairlines. You know, you start out at about a fine, and then you can get quite a bit wider from there. So for calligraphy, I don't know if this is the best. I do think that Mont Blanc 149 with that flex nib is better for that. But as everyday writer, this is really nice. You do have a pretty limited number of finishes, as I mentioned. That's pretty much it. Do you guys have this pen? Do you like this pen? Let me know in the comment section below. And if you like this video, please hit that like button. And if you want to see more fountain pen, paper, and ink videos, please hit that subscribe button. Thank you guys so much, and until next time.